We've just had the second Divisional Cup of the season and it had the craziest finish. Going into Game 6, there were so many top duos that could win, but it was the underrated team of Twek and Ghonzo that came out on top. Here's how they did it. Now, they started the tournament in style, winning the first 2 games back to back, securing a 66-point lead. 3 subsequent games outside of the top 10 did mean that it was more open coming into that final match, but they were able to secure a 7th in Game 6, which proved to be enough for the win. Now, later on in the video, I will discuss all the other teams that did well and the ones that struggled too, but for now, let's take a dive into Twek and Ghonzo's gameplay throughout this tournament. Now, they land at this split right at the north of the map. This is where Ping and Haris went last week, and they came 4th, beating Seti and Convec 4-0 off spawn, so it has seen a lot of success in Europe already. They build this big surge base north of the Battlewoods, which did have a lot of success for them as well. They would sit there and tank storm if needed, and they did this in most games. One thing that really impressed me about their end games was their synergy. They've only been playing together properly for just over 2 weeks, but it looks like it's been way longer than that. Their chemistry is great, they're fighting together as a unit, they're not reliant on solo clutches. I really liked what I saw. The other thing that was great is that their layer switching was very deliberate. They were taking good decisions, they were comfortable on both low ground and mid ground. We saw that from some of their victory royales. They were constantly fluctuating, using the best layers, and that ultimately did benefit them. Now, I reached out to Twek to ask him why him and Ghonzo have been so successful, and he stated that it's because they've been grinding since day 1 of this season, figuring everything out before the masses have a chance to, and clearly they are ahead of the curve. Their gameplay was great during this tournament, a far cry from their latest FNCS Grand Finals. We had Ghonzo finishing in 34th and Twek all the way down in 49th for that tournament, so this has been a great comeback, showing that they clearly have a lot of potential. They're currently 1st in the Reload Elite Series Opens as well, so they are in great form right now. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep it up, but I mean, it's looking really good for these guys. The absolute highlight from this tournament though was this 1v2 from Twek against Cammy and Hari in order to take the Game 1 victory royale. Great composure, really impressive stuff, and they played with this kind of confidence all throughout the tournament. There was also this moment in Game 4 where Twek and Ghonzo lurked on the team in 2nd place, which was Vico and Malabuka. You can see here they take out Vico pretty quickly with a nicely set up lurk play, and later on they shockwave down, recognizing Malabuka's skin, and take them out of the game. Now look, these guys weren't really that flashy, they weren't getting a huge amount of eliminations. You can see from the Osirion stats that they weren't really anywhere near the top, but they did have great placements, and ultimately it was those 2 victory royales right at the start of the tournament that allowed them to get the win. And look, what a story this is. Ghonzo is someone that before the solo series was relatively unknown. He did have a couple of good placements with specs, but nothing particularly crazy. He was then 3rd after day 1 of the January solo series. That led to him getting some great teammate options. He played with the likes of Truly, the likes of Pradaj, Kaisers, and did genuinely look good, and has obviously improved a lot. And Twek is someone that had some great moments with his old teammate Mydro. Of course, in the first EWC qualifier, they were 1st with back-to-back wins in those first 2 matches. Sounds familiar, I know. They did end up getting contested after that, but it was still a great performance. Things have been a bit quiet for Twek over the past few months. He had a disappointing FNCS, as I already mentioned. Always 2nd best at Tip Top Terrace to Dharm and Demush, but it really seems like they've turned things around. I loved what I saw from Twek and Ghonzo in this cup, and I wonder if this could be the start of something special. Now let's run down the rest of the top 10. In 2nd place we had King, Cringe and Twy. A really nice tournament for them. They had a great finish to shoot way up the leaderboard, a 3rd and a 4th place in their last 2 matches. Nice work from them. They took advantage of the hill close to them to build a surge base, and that definitely worked out because Twy had the most damage out of any player. They're fresh off their first LAN together. They're looking very solid. For me, they are one of the favourites to snag a global spot in Major 2. In 3rd place we had Yanis and Rax, another duo that did have a bit of a slow start. They didn't get into Game 1, which was pretty unfortunate, but after a poor performance in Game 2, they really turned things around. An 8th, a 3rd, a 5th, and a win in their last match to shoot up to 3rd in the standings. Really good stuff from them. It completely came out of nowhere, it almost felt like, and had they had that extra game, then they genuinely could have won this tournament. They were able to avoid all the off-spawn chaos over at Chop Shop. The fight between Marius and Wox and Church and Repairs was roaring all throughout the cup, but Giannis and Rax did stay clear of it. Rax in particular was ridiculously good during this cup. He was second for eliminations, showing the raw quality that made him such a talked about player at the start of this year. It does feel like he lost his way a tiny bit since then. Of course, FNCS was disappointing, not even making grand finals with SETI, but I still believe in Rax heavily. I know there's a lot of talent there, and I'm glad he was showing that in this tournament. Can he get back to his best for the rest of 2026? I certainly think so. In fourth place, we had Cammy and Hari, and I am very impressed with this duo. It does feel like they are now challenging for wins, finishing in those top 5, those top 10 positions, whereas last season that wasn't really happening as much. There were some good moments throughout the cup, but ultimately their last 2 games did cost them. They finished outside of the top 10 in both. Not making their end games count is ultimately what cost them. But nonetheless, this fourth place is a great positive. They're doing well from their tunnel split, one of the more underrated drops on this map, and I do like what I'm seeing from them. In fifth place, we had Shark and Teeny, and they will be very unhappy about how the tournament ended. Going into that final match, they were in second place, just 4 points behind Twek and Ghonzo. They unfortunately went down in 24th with 0 eliminations in that final match, which meant that they dropped way down the leaderboard. Definitely a missed opportunity. I will say that they did play quite well. From Calamari Canyon uncontested, they were striking fear into all the teams around them, W keying, not letting them have a moment's rest. It's exactly what they did when they landed at Wonky Land. It meant that they had so much space, so much territory completely clear because everyone was too scared to go near them, and it looks like at Calamari Canyon we're going to see a repeat of that. In sixth place, we had another duo that ultimately could have done better, but I do want to give credit to nonetheless, and that is Sky and Scroll. Now, they started out pretty poorly, continuing on from last week where they were doing okay in the early game, but they just weren't making their end games count. They weren't getting anywhere deep enough into their matches. They did kind of solve this problem midway through the tournament though, because they got back-to-back wins in games 4 and 5 to set them up brilliantly going into the final match. They were within a chance of winning out of nowhere almost. Unfortunately, game 6 just did not go to plan. Sky stated that he only found 1 shotgun and 3 overdrive grenades from their entire POI, and they did end up going down pretty early on. Yes, they weren't able to complete the magnificent comeback, but this was still a huge improvement on last week. 6th place is pretty solid. I know for Sky and Scroll we'd be expecting to see them even higher, but this was still a pretty good performance. In 7th place, we had last week's runners-up, which was Vico and Malabuka, and it wasn't too bad from them. I do feel like 7th is a pretty harsh placement because they were in the higher positions for much of the tournament. They were keying Skyjump and Karama in a bunch of the games, taking advantage of them being so split, and this did honestly work out for them. It nearly came undone though. Skyjump and Karama went for the revenge lurk play in the final match, but unfortunately for them, Malabuka detected the danger before it was too late, meaning he did survive. Vico and Mali then went on to win the ensuing fight. I suppose we'll see if the battle between these two teams continues in future weeks, but I will say that Vico and Malabuka are LAN qualified, so it's definitely a bit of a risk interfering with their situation. Now, the chaos of their final game doesn't stop there. They survived a lurk from Twek and Ghonzo. Instead of going to their usual surge base on the Battlewood Hill, Twek and Ghonzo decided to camp this launch pad, but Vico and Malabuka did not end up going that way. Instead, they got distracted by Marius and were able to secure a big refresh onto him. Unfortunately for them, they did go down relatively soon after that, coming out of one of the moving zones, so it wasn't the ideal performance they would have wanted, but 7th isn't the end of the world. Also, shout out to Vico for having the most eliminations, no surprises there. In 8th place, we had Frosty and Bevies, and this is a team that have been in great form lately. If you want to know more about them, then I spoke about them in depth in my latest video, which I will link at the end of this vid. In 9th place, we had Syaz and Scary Sean, solid from the LAN qualified Spaniards, a pretty good performance. Not really much more to say on that one. In 10th place, we had Chino and Pablo Wingu, okay, but still a little bit underwhelming from uncontested Sinister Strip. I do feel like they should be challenging for those higher spots, and it does feel like a while since they've been anywhere near a win. Of course, the Summit LAN was a little bit disappointing. I know they got that global spot, but finishing outside of the top 10, not ideal. They didn't look great in the days before that either. I do feel like this team does need to hit a little bit of form before grand finals start up. Right, now let's get into the teams that finished outside of the top 10. Firstly, I want to give a huge shout out to Hellfire and Wimfer for finishing in 11th place despite being contested in every single match. Really impressive stuff. I don't even know how they managed that. Fair play. In 12th place, we had Swizzy and Pixie. Would have liked to have seen a little bit more from them. Of course, they get so much loot from their POI at the Battlewoods, and I feel like they should be making more of this. I feel like they should be getting higher performances, and we've just not seen that over the past few months honest really. I mean, Swizzy and Pixie, outside of the Summit LAN, haven't really looked too good. In 13th place, we had last week's champions, Focus and Thomas HD, and things did not run that smoothly this time. Heatwave Harbour is one of those POIs where it's very easy to get lurked on. There's a lot of room, there's a lot of places to hide, and unfortunately in game 1, they were a victim to that. Focus got taken out by Blaha and SnozQ and Thomas soon after as well, and that kind of set the tone for the entire tournament. They only managed 2 games inside the top 20, nowhere near the standards we expect from them. But listen, I'm sure they'll be back. They were so good when they won last week. If they go away and fix up some of their strategies, then they'll be just fine. In 16th place, we had Dom and Demush. These guys were contested over at Sunken Shores once again, and they were the better team, only losing 2 games off spawn to Khan and Faded Pigeon, who themselves finished in 46th place, but ultimately, because of that spawn fight, they couldn't break into the top 10. In 25th place, we had Chap and Flixie, and I will start by saying they did actually end up getting contested in these finals by Pig and Yapko. I feel like that did go a little bit under the radar. Still though, not a great performance. I mean, I just want to see more from Chap and Flixie in general. I know they did okay at the Summit LAN. They came in 15th, securing a Globals qualification despite the fact they were contested, but I mean, I just need to see more performances from them before I can consider them to be a top team. And the last team I'll discuss is Savage and Bello. They finished in 27th place, and it was always going to be a really tough cup for them. They were contested at that split in the Southwest, so there was no way they were ever going to do well. There were games where they were getting beamed out of the air. There were matches where they were getting third parties off spawn. They were basically just playing evil Fortnite. At least they're making it to finals. The streak is still alive. They're just not quite able to capitalize on the opportunities, but to be fair to them, this one was always going to be really difficult. Now, we did have some European duos qualify over on NA Central. Akira and Karama placed the highest out of all of them, finishing in 26th place. They actually managed to win game 1, which was just an insane moment, so big credit to them. Unfortunately, they couldn't go on and make it count past that, but you can't take that moment away from us. We did have a European win on NA Central. Also, big credit to Cold and Rapid for winning the tournament in style. The solo clutch is on the screen now for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with European Fortnite news. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.